On June 16th, 2020, a young man under the username Norum posted onto the r/Argentina subreddit appealing for help. According to the poster, his mother, 49-year-old Emma Rosario, had gone missing a few days earlier. The original post only included a photograph of a woman with wavy black hair and a medium physical build, along with dates, general location, and 2 phone numbers. So even though people knew what this person looked like, there wasn't much to work with. On the following day, June 17th, the post began to attract more attention, which led to people asking the original poster for more information regarding the disappearance. He replied that same day, saying the following: "She went out to the shop and never came back. She was last seen here in the neighborhood. She was headed in the direction of Sanchez Pavon. She was dressed in the clothes you see in the photo. She had her wallet, ID, and cell phone with her." Shortly after he replied, other users began to help him trace his mother's footsteps. One of the first commenters suggested that he ask local shop owners for CCTV footage, and others mentioned that checking her search history or her Google Maps data could show where she had gone. Some wondered if Emma suffered from a disease that could have affected her orientation or ability to think clearly. The possibilities of what could have happened to this woman were endless, but in all missing person cases, the first steps are usually the same. As one of the longest, most thorough comments written by the user Fat Board said, "Is there any history of loss? Some kind of illness comes to mind. It usually happens. The best thing is to communicate those who can provide data, perhaps nearby hospitals, emergency services, or neighbors. If someone remembers seeing or hearing something, one usually has streets that they go to. Generally, people walk the same areas for safety. Seeing as you have already filed the report, there is no need to wait a minimum time or anything. They may be able to let you know if she ended up in the hospital for any reason. Hopefully it gets resolved soon." Following all the helpful messages from the other users, the original poster confirmed on June 18th that he had been able to log into his mother's Facebook and Google accounts. In addition, police had been interviewing several people, searching local hospitals, and checking CCTV footage of the house in the area. And despite all of these efforts, there was still no news of Emma. At the end of that day, Emma's son simply wrote, "Thank you all very much in advance for the support, and I will be telling you every day what is happening." On the 20th of June, almost a week since the authorities began their search for Emma, they decided to pay a visit to the family home to speak with the relatives again. And this time, Emma's 20-year-old son Daniel suddenly recounted an incident from the day of his mother's disappearance that he had somehow forgotten to tell the police earlier. Daniel said that on June 12th, he had seen his mother talking to a strange man, but didn't pay too much attention to it at first. However, Daniel then said that he had later heard loud noises and people arguing, and when he went to take a look at what was going on, the man yelled, "Don't say anything or I'll kill you." And what did Daniel do after a stranger threatened his life? He went back to his room and continued to play games on his computer and did not get up again. Not even when he heard strange movements in the back of his house. Needless to say, the police did not believe Daniel's very convenient and out-of-the-blue story. There was no way he would have forgotten such an intense incident and waited for over a week before letting anybody know. So the investigators began to search the house, and when they saw the patio, they immediately noticed a patch of ground that looked like it had been dug into. It was obvious what they were about to find, and because of that, when the officers told Daniel that they were going to remove the surface of the land, the 20-year-old broke down in tears. All this time, it had been Emma's own son who brutally murdered and buried her in the back of the house. Daniel was immediately arrested while the investigators excavated the land and discovered Emma's body. She had been stabbed 3 times, once to the chest and twice to the head. While Daniel confessed to the killing, he did not explain why he had murdered his own mother, but it is suspected that he suffers from some kind of mental disorder, as he was ordered to undergo psychological evaluations pretty much immediately. The news of Emma's death quickly found its way onto Reddit, where people were, of course, shocked to hear the conclusion of the case, but also totally freaked out. On June 21st, 2020, user Dimension Argentina made a post onto the subreddit informing everybody that Emma's body had been found, and that Daniel, her 20-year-old son, was the culprit. It was a creepy enough feeling to know that while people tried to help find Emma, she was already dead. Almost immediately, one of the commenters on the new post asked, then who was the one asking for help? That simple inquiry begged a very serious question. What if the original poster had not been a concerned son at all, but a cold-blooded killer? It was totally possible. The person behind the nickname Norum Norum could have made the original post after murdering his own mother simply to cover his tracks and make it look like he was doing all of this to help find Emma. Or perhaps he was asking for advice to secretly get tips on how to avoid getting caught. Well, what many of the commenters did not immediately know is that Emma had 3 sons, so the murderer and the poster could easily be different people. However, even that fact did not stop people from speculating, and after learning from the news that the killer was a 20-year-old and the son who had filed the missing person report was 25, Redditors began to take a closer look at the original poster's profile. What they found was confusing. On June 11th, 2020, Norum Norum commented on an unrelated post, saying that they were now 19 years of age, and yet when a user asked on the original thread if he happened to be 20 years old, Norum Norum said that he was 25. Did he just get 6 years older in 10 days, or was something else going on? A few days after the killing was revealed on Reddit, Norum Norum posted this comment. Apparently it was my brother. That's what the police declared. A simple but poignant comment that still left a few questions. Other comments that Norum left were equally as confusing. He later admitted that this wasn't his actual account, that it belonged to his other brother, Damien, who's supposedly the youngest son of the family, the one who was 19 at the time of commenting. But where does that logic end? If the 25-year-old brother accessed his account and even continued to use it after the fact, couldn't that same access have been given to the 20-year-old killer? Was this account simply logged in on a family computer? Because if that's the case, then the middle brother could have easily had access to this Reddit thread and seen everything that was being commented and posted about the case. They were able to gain access to Emma's Google accounts, Facebook page, and her Google Maps data because of this thread, and if the brother had access to that information as well, he could have very easily used it to divert attention, confuse the police's search, or distract people from the truth. There's also the fact that the brothers would have conversed with each other about the disappearance, so this information could have easily been relayed to the middle brother without him even going onto Reddit. It's only important to note this because there were many concerned commenters on the thread wondering if they had just accidentally helped a killer get away with murder. And unfortunately, when you weigh up the possibilities and realize the ways that this information could have reached the killer, you start to realize that it may be entirely possible that he was able to use this Reddit thread to his advantage. With that being said, there is only one true criminal in this case, the man who took the life of his own mother. The original post was created with good intentions. The responses were helpful and respectful to the gravity of the situation, and all in all, only one person in this scenario was truly evil. It's just unfortunate that while this good-natured post was receiving good-natured responses, there may very well have been a monster lurking in the background, reading everything and trying to use it to his advantage. The only silver lining in this story is the fact that he is behind bars and most likely will be for the rest of his life.